tell me about the film. Why did you want to make it?
I think it all started on the day when this historical decision was made, 5th of August 2019. It was a very emotional day for all of us. It was the day when a decision was made which was never supposed to, matlab, everybody was talking about it, that it is not going to happen ever in the history of India. But it happened. We finally became one nation altogether. And since then, of course, there was an emotional connect with it. Then, after a while, there was an investigative journalist who happened to meet Aditya, and he just happened to explain him a little bit about it, not completely in detail, but a little bit about how much of the information is probably there behind the curtains, and we don't know about it in the public domain. And I think from there on, the journey started. It was never the question whether we should do it or not. That question never arose, because it was amazing. Like 95% of the information was not there in public domain. How NIA, National Investigation Agency, how Army, Armed Forces, how PMO bureaucrats entirely pulled this off. And the most important thing which I feel makes this mission a successful mission is because there was no innocent blood that was spilled on the streets of Kashmir, which has a history of conflict, which is, it's an amazing feat. I think that point a lot of times gets missed out, but I think that is the thing which made it legendary historical decision. And afterwards, of course, when we started working, Aditya approached and said that we need to, I need you to direct it. It was an honor for me as well. And afterwards, we started with the research, and the entire writers team started sitting up for all the sessions, and then one thing led to another, and we have the film today.
Yeah, and Kiran, I'm interested then in the pressure that you feel to prepare for a role like that, because you've got to get this right. How would you prepare for that role?
मैंने आज तक जितने भी इंटरव्यूज देखे अमित भाई के, तो वो हिंदी में ही थे. आप लोगों ने सबने हिंदी फिल्म देखी है, तो मैं हिंदी में कंफर्टेबल हूँ. बात करूँ? बाद में सबटाइटल्स डालेंगे.
I'm just going to assume that everything you say is wonderful.
अच्छा, ये ऐसा है कि उनकी जो सोच है वो तो राइटर के जरिए आती है. जो लिखे गए डायलॉग्स हैं, जो संवाद है, जो लाइंस है, वो उस आदमी की सोच दिखाते हैं. मुझे उनकी तरह दिखना था, चलना था, उठना था, बैठना था, उनकी तरह हाथ हिलाने थे, और उनकी बातों में जो एक होल्ड होता है, जो लोगों पर एक छाप छोड़ देता है, मुझे उससे फॉलो करना था. तो जैसे ही मुझे पता चला कि ये उनका रोल है, तो मैंने वीडियोस देखे, उनके बहुत सारे इंटरव्यूज़ देखे, और एक्चुअली वो सीन देखा जो राज्यसभा में उन्होंने किया था, जो बात की थी उन्होंने, वो मैं शायद कुछ 50 बार तो मैंने देखा वो. और वो देखते देखते मैं उनके साथ वो बात कर रहा था. वो जो हाथ हिला रहे थे, ऐसे हिलाना, ये करना, वो सब मैं करते रहा था. और शूटिंग के पहले लास्ट मोमेंट तक मैंने ये देखा है, और मैंने कहा चलो टेक करते हैं. सो इट वाज लाइक शॉर्ट मेमोरी, और निकालो उसे. और बाकी तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं, जैसे मेकअप होता है, प्रोस्थेटिक मेकअप होता है, लुक होता है, और सबसे बड़ी बात होती है कि डायलॉग्स जो होते हैं, जो लाइंस होते हैं, जो सीन्स होते हैं, और उससे ऊपर सबसे बड़ी बात डायरेक्टर होता है. तो इन सब का मिला के जो हुआ है वो पर्दे पर नज़र आता है. मुझे नहीं लगता मैंने बहुत कुछ बड़ा किया या बहुत कुछ मैंने किया है. बस एक कोशिश की है और लोगों को अच्छा लग रहा है, और क्या कहूँ.
The first thing they teach you in journalism school is to make sure you listen to the answers that your guests give you. It's a little bit more difficult for me tonight. Manoj, one of the themes of the conference as well is going to be about leadership, isn't it? Talk to me about the themes in this film and what we might all learn in the business world when it comes to things like leadership.
Thank you, Ben. And again, a big salute to all of you. This has got to be one of the most amazing films that I have ever seen, and it really brought a tear to my eyes, and I'm sure a lot of people here as well. So another very, very big round of applause to all. There are 3 or 4 lessons. This is an episode that demonstrates that with conviction, you can move mountains, you can do anything. And so at the core of, I think, any leader, whether it's in politics or business, conviction plays the most important role. That if you believe in something, you can make it happen. And we saw that in full view this evening. The second aspect is team. And the simplest lesson is to ensure that you have women as your project managers, because they get it so well right. So a big shout out to the women that were portrayed in this film, and indeed the many women that have been part of this particular assignment. But having and selecting the right team and having confidence in that team is very, very important. And so that's the second thing that I picked out. The third aspect is planning, and we saw such meticulous planning. I'm sure for the film as well, you would have had to plan it so carefully given the subject that it is. But the detailed planning, and we see this at India Global Forum and of course in the media every single day, that you have to go through so many different scenario plannings of what could go wrong. And I could relate to all of those post-it notes that were put on there, that there's an umpteen number of things that could go wrong. But ultimately, it's that conviction, the team, and the planning and having a positive mindset that was really important. And above all, and finally, to bring it all together is about trust. Having trust in your team, having trust in the cause, and ultimately having trust in yourself that, yes, I can make this happen. And that's where I think Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, they not only had trust in all of those, but they have trust in the people of Jammu and Kashmir and the trust in the people of India. And that's why no innocent blood was spilt.
Jyoti, you're nodding along, and Manoj says there's a lot of parallels between, all of those messages and how you make this film. There's so much goes into it, but it's about creativity, leadership. It's about determination. You wanted to get this film made, and you did. Just talk us through what that involved.
That's a great question. And on a lighter note, I just want to add one more point that he forgot. You have to directly disobey your immediate superior to set yourself up for success. So he forgot that point.
It's a message for all of us there, isn't it?
No, actually, it's a tightrope that you walk on subjects like this, where, very quickly it can become propaganda and take away from the soul of the film and the message that you want to convey. So what we saw in the one line of the story that we were trying to tell was national pride. In 1947. When the British left our country,
you can't keep us away.
I wanna relate it back to that. One reward we got was Pakistan, which we wore till this day, and the other was this confusion in Kashmir and this dual state kind of status. And Kashmir was our crown jewel. We were always proud, very, very proud of Kashmir. But was it really ours? Was it not? And, which foreign bodies do we have to worry about? Global politics. And this was a story of brawn and brain coming together. It was as much the mind and the intelligence and the strategy as much as on the ground guerrilla tactics and on the ground combat. So I thought this was a story of India shining to the world that must be said, and it is something that every Indian will be proud to know. And you'll be surprised how many children, schools, colleges, young people have heard of Article 70 but have no clue what it's really about, and let alone the word abrogation.
Uh-huh.
So we thought we want to dumb it down, keep it really simple, And this has gone in forever in the pages of history of Indian politics. And it's a story that we wanted to own.
And Aditya, on that issue, this has wider appeal. This isn't a film about India for India, is it? This is a global film.
Absolutely. So when we were also making it, hats off to Jyoti, because in India, films are usually, in terms of business, you always see who's the male lead.
Uh-huh.
And because the Yami, who happens to be my wife, who's the main lead in this film, because the character based the officer on whom this character was based was actually a real life female officer.
Oh.
And if you remember the scene where she throws the guy out of the window, that actually happened.
Well, I wanted to ask, because filmmakers like to use poetic license.
Absolutely.
They like to play around with the facts, don't they? But was that a concern for you about just how far could you push it? Or could you push it at all on this film?
See, that's the balance which I think we were able to crack in our previous film also, which was Uri, the surgical strike. So we understood one thing, that we cannot go away from the essence of exactly what had happened. We have to stay in that realm.
Yeah.
But while doing that, of course, it has to be an entertaining film. It's a film. It's not a documentary.
Yeah.
So we need to have those aspects where the liberty is only till a limit where it doesn't become nuisance. It doesn't become like buffoonery.
Yeah.
So, and it's a very thin line. So coming back to why I wanted to say thanks to Jyoti is because she could have very easily asked us to change the girls and make it into boys, and we could have made, business-wise, we would have made profit on table. But she was also on board with that whole thought that let's keep it as authentic as possible.
Do you really think it would be more successful if they were male leads?
Might have been. But the whole point is that would have been us cheating with our craft.
Yeah.
And that is something which we don't intend to do in any of our films. So that ways, it was a film which was very important in terms of this was the first time we're actually in India ever there is a film which is made on such kind of politics, like political thriller. We have never seen a film like a political thriller ever happen before in India. There were a lot of firsts in this film. So of course it was risky, of course it was something, but we were sure that if we land it correctly, it'll make the whole world see exactly what kind of superpower we are becoming slowly, where we are reaching. And thank God we landed. And hats off to the audience, the way they are lapping it up and enjoying the movie.
Yeah.
It's at the same time, it's very educational, like in the sense there are a lot of complexities we are talking about while discussing in the film. And there were a lot of discussions before the release with our editor, Shiv Kumar Panikar, where we were like, will audience be able to understand or not? Or like, should we like make it easier? But what we also understood is that as in this film industry, in Hindi film industry, Indian film industry, we have this habit of taking our audience for granted and thinking that we need to make it really dumb for them. Yeah. But what we don't realize is they are super intelligent.
They start at this level. Yeah.
And they are phenomenal. So the way they started discussing this film after watching it, we were like really amazed that the kind of detail they started getting into, we were like, hats off to them.
And Manoj, that's an issue, isn't it? That you deal with all the time. Crises are complicated. Business is complicated. Things don't have an easy narrative. It's not A to B to C. They can be messy. And I think, again, it's that the message that comes from this film is that if you know where you want to get to, how you get there is complicated, but it's about doing the right thing. And that's really applicable in business, isn't it? It's about doing the right thing.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It is about doing the right thing. And, what I said earlier on about conviction. The point I just wanted to build on what Aditya was talking about, and this is the first political thriller of sorts that India has seen, and that just hit me because you've seen Hollywood produce these types or these political thriller movies for decades now, and that has in many ways set the US's narrative as far as its portrayal of itself to the world and its views of the world. And in the same way, I think now we're seeing this new genre of Indian films, and Uri being another one, again, an amazing film, how India is writing its own narrative, and why not? The West has done it for decades, and India is a country on the move, and it's using through film to tell its stories and its narratives, and something we're going to be discussing more tomorrow as well. So I do think, and that yes, doing the right thing is fundamental to it, but then telling the right thing and telling it in the right way, or telling it in a way which becomes accessible. And yes, for example, as a former lawyer, I know the complexities of which you would have had to deal with, the abrogation and the different clauses and so on. But I must say you did it superbly well. And somebody that's a lapsed lawyer, and I'm sure everybody here would have really appreciated the detail and the balance with which you presented that. And so, again, hats off to you.
And Kieran, I'm aware he sat right next to you, but what was it like working with Aditya as a director? Was he showing the leadership that we've been talking all about, making the right decisions?
जब मैं पहली बार इनसे मिला तो मेरा पहला एक ख्याल दिमाग में आया था कि ये बहुत सिंपल इंसान है, तो मेरे लिए बहुत आसान हो गया कनेक्ट करना। और इन्होंने मुझे पूरा समझाया कि एग्जैक्टली क्या है वो, कैसे ये डेवलप होता है, तो मेरे लिए और आसान हो गया। और ऑन सेट मैं आपको बता दूं कि कई सारे डायरेक्टर्स मैंने ऐसे भी देखे हैं जो कहते हैं कि ऐसा करो, ऐसा बोलो, तो बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाता है, क्योंकि हर एक्टर अपनी एक सोच लेकर आता है, अपना एक तरीका लेकर आता है। और ये प्रोसेस, एक एक्टर की प्रोसेस बहुत पहले से होती है। ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं बैठा, मुझे मेकअप किया और मैं उनकी तरह लगने लगा और उनकी तरह मैं हो गया। उनकी तरह लोगों को मैं कन्विंस करा रहा हूँ कि मैं वैसे हूँ। ये जो है, ये प्रोसेस बहुत पहले से शुरू होती है एज एन एक्टर। तो मुझे वो पता था कि मुझे करना क्या है, लेकिन इनकी तरफ से मुझे बिल्कुल छूट मिली थी। एक तो हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया था, फिर मैंने ये सीन पढ़ के सुनाया ने, उन्होंने कहा कि बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है। बस एक ही दिक्कत थी मेरे इसमें कि मैं उनकी तरह, मेरी आवाज़ नहीं है, उनकी आवाज़ बहुत गाढ़ी है और थोड़ा सा ऐसा है, और मेरी बहुत शार्प और पतली है। तो मैंने इनसे कहा भाई मैं उस लेन में अगर घुस गया तो बड़ा गड़बड़ हो जाएगी। 2 लाइनों के लिए आप मिमिक्री कर सकते हैं, डबिंग कर सकते हैं, लेकिन आपको अगर एक पूरा सीन, पूरा कैरेक्टर करना है तो ये बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाएगा। और इन्होंने सपोर्ट दिया मुझे कि हाँ, हम इसमें नहीं घुसेंगे, बिकॉज आप जैसे चल रहे हो, जैसे बात कर रहे हो, हमें लग रहा है कि कौन है, हमें पता चल रहा है। तो डायरेक्टर का आपको बिल्कुल सपोर्ट होना बहुत काम आता है। ये इनको कोई समझाए तो आप तो समझ गए होंगे, इनको भी समझाइए। तो
Basically saying yes to the question.
नहीं, मैं वही, लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि कैसे कर लिया, कैसे कर लिया, तो अचानक नहीं होता ये। कई सारे लोग हैं कि अगर मेकअप करो तो उनकी तरह दिखेंगे, लेकिन ज़रूरी नहीं कि वो लगे वैसे। तो वो जो एक्टिंग की प्रोसेस होती है, ये शायद 10-15 साल, 20 साल पहले मेरे दिमाग में चल रही थी। उस प्रोसेस को मैंने दोहराया बस।
Thank you. And Aditya Jumbale, talking about how you made sure you got this right. We talked about decision making and the difficulty of portraying something like this. When you set out to portray a story like this, I mean, there's clearly responsibility, but how do you make sure that you are happy that this is the film that you want to show the world?
I think like now in the panel also we have been discussing about doing the right thing, as opposed to doing calculatively something that is only addressed to a certain advantage. I think it's also about legacy and respect. I feel, does the film try and do a attempt to create a legacy? Does the story and the emotion travel to the audience, stay in their heart, makes them feel something inside while they come out of the theater? Does it really make them tell it to multiple people and their friends and family and everybody that go and watch this film, you will like it, it will be worth your time, and you will, I think when that happens, you do get respect. And I feel when I started the shoot of this film, and when I started this project, and Aditya he gave me this opportunity, and we figured out that we need to do it together. The only thing that mattered was me feeling the story as a director, because I can't direct a film unless until I feel that, okay, this is the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. I believe in it, and then with conviction I can portray it. If I have even 1% doubt about any particular thing in that story or in that film, then it doesn't make sense, because I'll not be able to direct. So the whole point was, when we sat on the story, when we went through the entire research material, which was so amazing, and trust me, we couldn't show everything.
Yeah. How long did that take?
It took around, like, properly, if you say, it's probably 1 year. Oh. But if you talk about like the screenplay and more focused approach on just the film, it, I think, took on the script 5 to 6 months. 6 months. And that already was telling me that this is a story that I need to tell the world. And I could feel that regarding the challenge, of course, first challenge was the age. Whenever I used to narrate the story, this is my first film as a director. But having the interest in politics and overall what happens in the nation, thank you so much. Kudos to him, because he gave me that opportunity, and Lokesh Thar and Jyoti Deshpande ma'am. I think it is very crucial that right from my school time, I was actually interested. I was politically aware. I was aware about what is going on. It was not a subject that, okay, I don't know about it at all. Kashmir has been very integral part of India. It has been a very emotional part for India and all the Indians. So the moment we went for it, I knew that the balance is important. Yeah. If I'm portraying a political leader, it's a responsibility also. If I'm showing Pulwama, it's not just cinema then. It's not like, I can just go as a first time filmmaker and I can say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to place the cameras like this and all. It needs to sip in myself that it's a responsibility. It's an event which was a loss to the nation. Yeah. And it's a big responsibility that I'm kind of creating that moment for the audience, which was never actually there. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that sense was very crucial, and that approach was very simple then, that you create the balance, be loyal to the subject, believe in it, and work as hard as possible.
Really good messages on it. Manoj, I want to come to you for a final thought in just a second, but Jyoti or Aditya, what next? Given the success of this, and given, as Manoj was saying, the first Indian political thriller, does this open doors to allow you to say, actually, there is a huge market for this? We've nailed it with this one. What comes next?
So I'll go ahead and I'll keep it short. So I think one of the things I remember on this journey is that the early drafts were, very much skewed towards drama and very verbose and, written to a tight budget, because typically you can shoot drama quite cheaply. So what happens, legacy, if you go back and look at political dramas and things like this, it's generally low budget, not good production values, not mainstream entertainment, and so the whole idea of writing actual action into it, although we were going to go with a female protagonist, meant that the risk of return on investment was going to be exponentially higher. But we said that is what we will do. And as a rider to his previous question, the creative license we did take was that Chief Whip was a man, but Happy Women's Day, we made that character also into a woman. So so I think I like to use the chair I'm sitting in quite wisely towards that cause. I think it opens the door for real stories, not necessarily just political drama, but it's not about just selling popcorn to the front benchers. India is a very complex audience. You have the absolutely sophisticated English-speaking audiences on the one end, who are upwardly mobile, very affluent, down to smaller towns, smaller cities who don't even speak any other language other than their local language. So it's a very diverse country within country kind of an audience that we're targeting. And hopefully many such brave movies will be attempted in the future.
And that is to Aditya's point, isn't it? You know, understand your audience and give your audience credit for what they want and what they understand.
So I'll give you an example. My previous film was an army film. It was based on surgical strikes which happened in 2016. And at that time, a lot of people from the industry actually called up my team and my producers and told them that you should not be making this because war films don't work in India. First of all, the last war film worked in India was in 97 by the name of Border. And the second thing they said that because it's very risky and also because war films require a certain budget, and that was my debut film. But we went ahead with it with all conviction. Like he said, that the idea was that whatever we make has to create a legacy. We have to leave behind something which has a lot of respect behind it. And it became one of the biggest blockbusters in the history of Indian cinema. So when you start with that thought process, then you know that, and then there was series of war films which happened in India. So in Indian films work on trends over here. Whatever is working, like one film works, everybody starts following that trend.
Yeah.
And we as a company, we always want to break that. Like first film, war film, second film, political thriller. Third might be like a comic caper, which nobody has ever done before. Fourth might be a supernatural thriller with action in it, which nobody has done before. So the idea is to always keep giving audience something new rather than be a part of the trend. You become the trendsetter. And that is something we always go for.
And Manoj, your final word, very briefly, what would you like people to leave here tonight? Having watched that film, what can they take back to their homes, their businesses, their families?
I think if we trace and I'm a layperson in terms of the film industry, but if I look at my own experience of watching Indian cinema, is that you've had this long period of escapism, of fantasy, of films that take people away from reality and into a fantasy world, where it be a world of riches, a world of dance, music, and so on, for those 3.5 hours of when those films were. And what was the reason for that those films really succeeded? That was a time when India faced acute poverty, acute economic difficulties, and that aspiration and a sense of a future that is a positive future did not belong and was not part of India's narrative. People did not feel that. What you're now seeing is a country that is more confident, a country that is economically on the move, politically has been given a very clear and strong direction, and therefore it's no longer fantasy that appeals to them. It's reality and aspiration. And I can see why films like this have a resonance. And this is not a niche film. This is a mainstream film that I feel that will resonate both in urban Mumbai as well as in the villages as well. And that's the big change that you're seeing of the India today. And that's where the next 10 is going to be as well. And just as an advert, we're going to carry on these themes tomorrow. We've got two of the greatest storytellers living on the planet with us tomorrow, Jeffrey Archer and Amish Tripathi. They'll be doing a blockbuster session at the IGF Forum as well. So I'm sure we'll be exploring some of these themes with them as well.
You're absolutely right. You stole my line, Manoj. I'm going to speak to them tomorrow. I cannot wait. It is an incredible film. Congratulations. Thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your time this evening. Please show your appreciation for our panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.